example 2b, we have to identify our GCF for the original trinomial. Our GCF is 10. So we're going to factor out the 10, and 10 times 2y, let's get that focused, 10 times 2y gives us, and actually should be 2y squared, 10 times 2y squared gives us our 20y squared, 10 times minus 11y gives us our minus 110y, and 10 times a negative or minus 21 is going to give us a minus 210. So this trinomial, we need to see if it factors further. This first term and the last term are not perfect squares, so this will not factor as a perfect square trinomial. So we have to go to the AC method. So we have to identify our A, B, and C values. A is 2, the coefficient in front of y squared. Our B value is negative 11, the coefficient in front of the y. And our C value is negative 21, the constant by itself. So the AC method says find two values whose product is the A times C. So in this case it's negative 42. But we also need the two values to add up to our B value of negative 11. So writing the factors of 42 would be 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, and 6 and 7. So those numbers here will be our factors of 42. Since the product is negative 42, one of these will be negative, and this sign is actually going to help us determine which one. Since this middle sign is negative, the larger positive factor is going to be negative. And the only two terms that work are going to be 3 with a negative 14. 3 times negative 14 gives us our negative 42. 3 plus negative 14 gives us our negative 11. So we are going to rewrite this trinomial. I'm going to write over here in this area here. This trinomial is going to be written as 2y squared, and we split the middle term into these two terms here. So this 3 becomes a plus 3y. This minus 14 becomes a minus 14y. Those two terms would combine to give me my negative 11y. And we continue with the minus 21. And the reason we put it into 4 terms, the trinomial into a 4-term polynomial, is so we can do factoring by grouping. So here's my symbol for my factoring by grouping for the first 2 terms. The GCF of the first 2 terms is y. So y gets factored out. What's left is 2y, because y times 2y gives me 2y squared, and y times a positive 3, so plus 3 gets written down. And in my second set of factors, notice how they're both negative. And when your leading term is negative, chances are you're going to factor out the negative GCF. And so 14 and 21, your GCF would be 7. So we're going to factor out negative 7. And negative 7 times 2y would give us our negative 14y. Negative 7 times a positive 3, so plus 3 gives us our negative 21. So now we have these 4 terms have been rewritten as 2 terms with a common binomial factor. So we're going to factor out that factor of 2y plus 3, and then what's left in the other factor is the y minus 7. So these 2 binomials cannot factor further, but do not forget that we had to factor out a GCF of 10 at the very beginning. Back on track. That 10 needs to be brought back to the final answer, so 10 goes in front of these 2 factors here. And that's our final answer for example 1b.